Hello, welcome back. I'm Douglas Matthews and this is video 4 in a series of 4 videos. In the previous ones we've been looking at handling paint, working in sky, working in water, doing a bit of foreground, looking at the horizon. But today I thought it'd be a good idea to start something completely different, and that would be a forest scene. Now, the whole aim of the thing that we're doing here is to have a really good time enjoying yourself, putting on paint. But I don't want you intimidated by the drawing of things. The whole idea is to apply paint loosely and work at it without getting too involved with detail. So this is a forest scene we're going to be doing. It's from a photograph that I'd taken. And you can take your own photographs or you can download something from the internet. It's up to you. Now, in the first video, I had shown that you can work directly onto a white canvas. But here, what I've decided is to do is to cover it with some different varying shades of blue. And that would get rid of the white, because some people do feel a little bit intimidated by a pure white canvas. Where to start? Oh, I don't want to spoil the purity of the white. Well, it's spoiled now. It's now got blue on it. So what I'm going to do is block in some trees. And really all you have to think about when you're doing trees is that they're broader at the bottom and they taper to become narrower as you work away. Also, when you come to do branches, if you're putting branches in, think of the tree and as like your arm, and the branches are like your fingers, where your fingers are thicker at the bottom, where the trunk is, and they taper. So all your branches are going to be thicker nearest the trunk and taper off, and they're easy to do, so not a big problem. So what I'm going to do is just work on top of this with some greyish colour. Because the funny thing is, when you say to a child, what colour is a tree? They'll say brown for the trunk and green for the leaves. But in actual fact, trees are brown, they're green because of moss, they're a kind of grey colour because of the type of tree. So this is going to be a kind of grey. And for that, I'm using some white, some blue, a little bit of yellow, and a little bit of red. And that combination is going to give me a grey. It's a kind of bluey grey, but a grey nevertheless. I'm going to dilute it with a bit of water, and I'm going to draw in some trees. There we are. And I'm just twiddling the brush down. And here we are. It's going a little bit thicker at the bottom there. Okay. Then I'm going to have another one coming in over here. It's further away, so it's going to be a little bit thinner, just to give the feeling that it is further away, the perspective of it. It's on a bit of an incline, so we draw a bit of a kind of hill going up like that. And then I'm going to have a nice big tree down at the bottom here. And that's going to be nice and thick. And that's basically all you have to do. That's your drawing done. All right, so there's not an awful lot there to worry about. So it's just a case of bringing your brush down, you can twiddle it about a wee bit if you want, that's it. There are going to be some trees in the background, but they'll go in later. So what I'm going to do first of all is sketch in the sky. So I'm going to use a thicker brush. This is a number 10 brush. I'm not using that for the moment, so it's going in the water. As I reminded you, paint dries quickly, acrylic paint dries really quickly, so you really want to make sure that it goes in the water so that it doesn't go stiff on you. Right, sky. I'm going to mix a bit of ultramarine with some white and pop that in up here. This is going to be my sky. Okay. And then I'm going to add in some colour in the background here to represent the vastness of the forest. So it's basically the kind of colour that I made up here, different shades of, and popping that in like that. As you can see, I'm putting it in very randomly. Some bits lighter, some bits a little bit darker. Peachy colour here. I'm going to use that peachy colour for a path. So it's or not quite a path, but just a bit of bare ground going through the forest. People may have trodden the vegetation down. A wee bit of cadmium red, cadmium yellow mixed together with some white. And that gives you the shade that you need. I'm using this Stay Wet palette throughout, and it's basically a baking tray with a bit of kitchen roll that I have wet the area, tipped off the excess, bit of baking paper on top of it, and that saves you spending £15 or so in an art shop to buy one of these ones that are specifically made for purpose. If you've got a raised lip round about your tray, you can actually cover it with cling film afterwards, and that keeps the thing really nice and wet. Don't keep it wet too long. I mean, if you're talking about a couple of weeks, it might go a little bit mouldy, so just be careful about that. I'm mixing up some more of this grey colour. I'm using a bit of blue into that I've just been using. Oops. Pop it in there. So this is the background going in. All right. I can then tip in a little bit more of the bluey green colour. Pop that in here, down at the bottom. And this is just a general background colour that you're going to be working into later on. Now this is basically a 15-minute or so demonstration, so we can't expect any miracles, but at the moment what I'm doing is just blocking things in. I want a little bit more light up there in the sky, so I shall pop in a bit more pure white up here. Just to break that up, oops, sorry, that's the tree. Forget that, little touches in here, dotting it about. Right. And then we've got this area down here that we're going to make the kind of grey colour. I'm using Prussian blue, a little bit of lemon yellow, a little bit of cadmium red, and I'm getting this kind of greyish colour, and this is going to be some of the tree trunk. So we'll pop that in like so. To begin with, just block it in. As you can see, I'm not bothering too much about being neat, because it is a tree trunk after all, and it could have quite a rough bark. And then down here, we're doing the same. This one's slightly brownish. And then we'll have the same here, only this time we'll make it a little bit warmer, slightly more peachy. Like that, okay? Then we're going to have some shadows falling across. So make something a wee bit darker. That's going to cut across like that from the tree. That's going to cut across at this angle. Yellow, red and blue again mixed together, and that comes across here. We can work on top of that later on, but this bit here is going to have some moss in the area, so I'm using a bit of cerulean blue, a little bit of lemon yellow mixed with that, popping this in here. And pop some green like that. So mixing different shades of green. So that was the cerulean blue and lemon yellow. This is now cadmium yellow and Prussian blue. That's going to be a kind of darker green down here. Going to be little touches of green here and there. Then I'm going to have some ultramarine with cadmium yellow, just to give you an idea of the different shades of green that you can be using. See, it's quite different altogether there. Little bits of green on the tree trunk, and then we're going to have some more greyish green down here. And this is going to be blocking in the ground. I'm doing this rather quickly, so just to give you the general impression of how to start the painting. As you see, there's no drawing really worth talking about apart from those few lines that I'm putting in for the trees themselves. I'm just getting a kind of broken effect down here, remembering that the idea of the whole thing about painting is to enjoy yourself. It need not necessarily be relaxing, because relaxing sometimes is when you don't challenge yourself sufficiently, but it definitely should give you a sense of purpose, a sense of satisfaction when you're finished. I'm going to use now a small brush, and for this I'm going to mix up some slightly kind of orangey colours. This is going to be for trees in the background. I'm just kind of twiddling it down like that, darken it a little bit with a wee bit of blue, and yellow and red. And put some other trees in. Add a little touch over here, another tree coming in here. That's going to be yellow and red and a bit of white. And that one's coming in here. Again, you're just blending the colours together like that. Okay, and I've got some bits here that can break it up, so you don't want a completely solid area. So you want to give the effect that light is passing through it. And you can also have bits on this tree. This can be slightly, there's an expression that you used to describe a group of painters at the turn of the century, of the turn of the 20th century, Fauve, which was wild beasts, basically, because of the raw colour. Like André Derain was one of them, and he used very, very bright colours in what they called a kind of primitive way. This is what we're trying to do here, just create just fun colours, fun bits to it. Take it something quite dark, Prussian blue, bit of cadmium red, little touch of cadmium yellow, and then put in a few knots in the tree here and there, like that. Darken bits at the bottom. Little shadows down the tree trunk there. Little bits of rock here and there. Some darker trees that are kind of disappearing into the background. Some areas of dark down here. Just using the flat of the brush, making kind of random strokes. I'm getting some of this light yellowy colour coming in here. Some light passing through. And that's going into some green. So I'm kind of half shutting my eyes, kind of squinting through half shut eyes to get a kind of general look, general feel for the picture. I shall have a little bit of pale blue in that tree to make it slightly rounded. So I'm going to use a bit of cobalt and cerulean together mixed. And I'm going to dry my brush a little bit and kind of scrape that on using the flat side of the brush. Like that, to get kind of an effect. to get it slightly more three-dimensional. Do the same up here, varying the shades so that you've not got like a solid area. Just using the flat side of the brush. And then in here you can have some broken up areas. Just finish these bits here off. And then you can have some really dark bits here and there, just to make sure that maybe another bit coming up there. So we're just working like that. Then, when it comes to doing the branches, okay, it's not finished. Definitely it's not finished by any manner of means, but we're kind of pushed for time, so I'll just give you a rough idea. So we've got little kind of knots in it here and there. You can, of course, use the brush to soften those a bit, like that. Use the flat of it, so it's not too solid. That. And then I need a wee bit of blending in here. So I've got a kind of random effect going on here. So when it comes to doing the likes of the branches, you use a kind of fairly fine brush and then just go across like that. Twiddle the brush like that. And by twiddling the brush, you're getting a more random effect. Okay, so there can be other trees in there if you wanted. You can have bits coming out from there. Different shades going in different directions. Some, maybe a darker area down here. Just to get the impression of balance. So as I say, it's a case of just playing around with it, making sure that you're having fun, putting in areas that you feel balance, others out, maybe a very, very pale bit of tree in there. Soften that up a bit, add bits here and there, like so. All right, and then you can put in little stones. So you've got little grey stones down here if you wanted. Just pop them in like that. But as I say, it's not a finished product, but it's something that you can build on. You can vary the shadows a bit more. Alter them ever so slightly. All right? Generally speaking, it's a case of enjoying yourself, having fun with your painting. Don't get yourself upset about trying to keep within parameters. Do not draw using a pencil. I never use a pencil because I don't want to get inhibited by keeping within one particular area. So if you do draw, use a fine brush, something like this. This is a number 6. Use that because you can get the edge of it, you can also get the flat of it, you can get the point of it. And just choose a subject matter, like a forest, like the sky and the sea, something where there's no definite shape that people can look at and say, oh, you didn't draw that very well. Who knows what a forest looks like? Who knows what a tree looks like? They're all different shades, all different sizes, all you name it. So enjoy yourself, that's the main thing. So I hope you've enjoyed this video and maybe see you again. Bye.